Hi, everyone. This is Ruth again in the room. And I was just thinking yesterday, I was having a conversation with one of the people I coach, and it was about the person in leadership not really having the kind of understanding about their own behavior that they could to be a better leader. So I thought I'd talk about a really basic issue as a leader, and that is knowing yourself. This is so important, and it's an ongoing difficult problem for all of us because we all have blind spots. And sometimes I think the fear around knowing myself and knowing how I come across to people is harder than some of the firing people or some of the big challenges that I have overseen in my time in leadership. So, what we have to do is realize that even if it's difficult putting all this together and realizing how we affect people and how we can then improve the way we do our jobs, is to gather feedback. Because how else do we find out? We can do online surveys of ourselves, or we can, get a therapist, which is always great as well. But find out, get a 360 assessment to find out. Fastest way that you can improve as a leader to listen to the people that you lead is to gin up some grit and talk to your team. And if it's necessary, and it would be probably easier for everyone, is to do this online, to ask them questions. One of the things that I use as a model or an image is the putting together a jigsaw puzzle without having the top to the box. And that's one of the things that we struggle with, I think, especially as new leaders, finding out, what is the big picture? How do I know how to do this job? It took me a couple of years after my first job in a department manager role to even know kind of what my job was. And so learning how to know yourself is just totally essential. So we have to be full of knowledge, and we also have to give ourselves some grace. And that's easier to do once we hear the news about how we're perceived. And also, then it's easier for us to have grace for other people because of that humility that comes from knowing ourselves better. So here's some coaching questions that you can ask, and I would recommend, if you want to do this on paper, obviously if you do it on paper, you can tell what people's handwriting is. Really openly asking folks in that are your direct reports about, you know, I want to revisit my role, or I'm just learning, or I'm open to learning more about myself and how I lead. What would you expect of a person in this role? Whether it's a charge RN or it's a CEO or COO. And what would you recommend that I do more of or less of? What would you recommend for somebody in this role if there were no limits to our finances or to the kind of help that I could get? What would you recommend? And, please tell me what I do well and also what I could do to improve. This is one of the fastest ways you can clarify expectations of the people you lead and to find out what's a reasonable expectation or not and to talk to them about it. So, you know, get the therapist, sure, that's great. And, use online surveys that can help look at various things that your emotional intelligence or, how you learn. Those kinds of things are excellent to learn about yourself, but it's an ongoing process. I want to leave you with a quote from Heraclitus, a Greek poet and philosopher. And this is so important for us as we lead, and that is that the soul is dyed the color of our thoughts. And if we really think only in line with our principles and those things that can stand in the full light of day, the content of our character is our choice, and that is also the way we lead. So, what we choose day by day is who you become, and that integrity is your destiny. It is the light that guides your way. remembering that we talked about being a leader is shedding light or shadow on the people around us. This is the way we can shed light.